This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Attorney Mark Tinsley with us still. We are talking things that orbit the world of the Murdaughs, because there doesn't seem to be any end to it. Mark, the attorney for the family of Mallory Beach. Mallory, the young woman who was thrown from the boat that Paul Murdaugh was driving on that fateful day and losing her life. Paul Murdaugh allegedly driving it drunk. And I think it's more than allegation at this point. I think it's safe to say he was driving it drunk. Mark, it's a civil case, I know, that's coming up here in August. Can you give us some insight into what we can expect to see when that begins?
I don't know what you're going to be seeing. That's it's an interesting question in terms of Alex participation in the trial. Is he going to be there? Is he going to be in maximum security? Is he going to appear by WebEx or some sort of video conference? I don't really know. It'll be interesting.
What specifically are the charges that are going against the Murdaugh family in this case that's coming up in August? So,
primarily, it's not a charge per se, as we are suing them and making a civil claim.
Sure.
And that claim is, in its essence, a negligent entrustment. You knew that Paul had a propensity to consume alcohol. He's underage. Despite knowing the hazards presented by his use of alcohol, you nonetheless entrusted him with a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So that's really what the claim is against Alex.
With something like this, and you've been involved in other cases involving Murdaugh and finances and such, how difficult is it, or is it possible to still get money out of an individual who doesn't appear to have all that much? Seems like a lot of things already have been liquidated. Is there still funds, or is this more so in principle to find fault with someone on the principle of it, of his negligence?
Yeah, from the Beach family's perspective, this has always been a matter of accountability. Mm-hmm. And what that really means to them is that there's a hope and a prayer that what they do in this case by holding Alex Murdaugh or Parker's convenience store or anybody else who's involved in the provision of alcohol to minors responsible, such that it doesn't happen in the future. And sure. And so, I think that's what they're most interested in terms of what's going to happen. But, there's at least $1 million that's been collected by the receivers available to the victims. That might not be a lot of money in Tony's world, but it's a lot of money in most worlds.
Oh, sure.
So to say that there's no money, he has spent a lot of money. He has liquidated a ton of assets, and mm-hmm. We don't know what he's done with all the cash, for sure. And we would love nothing more to find out, but there's still money there to get from Alex Murdaugh.
There is. Okay. And that's the big question that everyone has had, is where has this money gone to that he's stolen and such? Are we ever going to find an answer to that? Is that information going to come out in court in some of the financial crimes and some of those cases as they're dug into in discovery and such?
I sincerely doubt it. I know that the receivers have worked and we've worked together to try to figure out where some of the money is gone. Mm-hmm. The Cousin Eddie checks that you see being cashed, they're being cashed, and it's my belief in it. And I don't think it's more than just a belief that, whether it was Eddie or somebody else cashing the check. You heard some testimony during the murder trial. I didn't see all of it, but of one of Alex's check cashers. So he's writing checks. Maybe there are all under $10,000 to avoid reporting requirements from the bank.
Yeah.
He writes you a check for $9,700, pays you $500. You bring him the difference back in cash, and so he's liquidating the money or the accounts just as soon as he puts the money into them, beginning in around the time of the boat crash, all the way to just before he's arrested. So
was he doing that?
I don't know what he did with it.
Was he doing that in essentially anticipating that people are going to be going after him for money, and if this money is sitting in an account, it's going to be much easier to take versus it being literally physically in cash?
It's such a frantic liquidation that it's hard to believe he doesn't know that something's coming, or he's going to, you would say, well, he's going to run. Well, if he was going to run, looks like he would have run rather than, but Alec is such a narcissist that I'm confident that he always thought until the very, very end that his plan was going to work. He was going to get over, he was going to get by. So, the answer is, I don't know what he did with it.
Yeah.
Or why he did what he did. I mean, we can only see what he did and speculate on the why, because he's not telling us.
I had talked with an investigator a couple of weeks ago, and they had speculated, and just pure speculation, that maybe this money literally is buried around the grounds of Moselle or something of that nature. And it sounds, kind of outlandish. It almost sounds like something out of a movie, but so does most of what Alex Murdaugh has done. It sounds like it's out of a movie. One would almost wonder if that could be the case, or if not, Moselle somewhere in some sort of hiding spot, physically buried, where only him and maybe someone else knows.
Well, I would tell you this: if they had released those jail calls closer in time when he was urging Buster to go check that feeder, I would have gone to check that feeder. But so I don't know. I don't know is the answer. I doubt it's buried. There was some speculation that Alec may have a connection with a lawyer who deals in what's called captive insurance. And it's an idea of that this person can make a sack of cash disappear in an offshore Cook Island account or something like that. We know he went to the Bahamas a couple of times. Yeah. He went right before he was arrested. And I think there was a fear by the AG's office that he was about to run then, which is why they sort of, in my opinion, rushed and charged him with the insurance fraud for when there was no life insurance.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Mark Tinsley, thank you for joining us and giving us some of that insight. We're going to continue talking to Mark about more, because it just keeps getting deeper. We're going to go into a conversation next with Mark about Palmetto State Bank and some of the practices that were once at play there, allegedly, that, some people kind of got into some trouble for, and how the filthy hands of the Murdaughs were deep in that, spinning that pot, looking for the goods, money that was not theirs. That's coming up. Press subscribe so you don't miss any of that wherever you download podcasts. My name's Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.